Martin Sheen used to be a heavy drinking star, pressing the self-destruct button. He even had a heart attack at 36. And now, he's the personification of sober living, undoubtedly one of the best suited people to know about coming back from the brink. Today we're looking into the Estevez household, including thoughts on growing up with a famous father from his son, Emilio Estevez.
Ever, you were probably more in love with the family than you were with Emilio.
I mean, the whole thing was definitely like intoxicating.
Yeah.
Because it was seeing something that was very clearly different than what I had.
Martin Sheen was born Ramon Estevez, the son of a Spanish father and an Irish mother, both of whom immigrated to Ohio in the 1930s. Hoping to make it as an actor, he realized his name wasn't exactly helpful. It's difficult enough trying to get started as an actor, and my name kept throwing people. They couldn't pronounce it. Racism towards Puerto Ricans being rife in New York in the early 60s, and virtually no roles for Hispanic actors on the Hollywood scene, ultimately led him to take an on-stage name. Estevez is still my name. I never changed it officially, he once said. Digging his official ID card out of his pocket is proof. He took the names of two people he found inspirational. One was Fulton Sheen, the American Archbishop, and the other, Robert Dale Martin, a casting director at CBS. Emilio, his eldest child, his other son Ramon, and daughter Renee, who chose to keep their father's real name, all ended up acting. My decision was met with a lot of resistance at the time, Emilio added, but it was abundantly clear to me that my father had earned his name and I hadn't.
The three names that were starring in the play, and one of them was Martin Sheen and not his real name, Ramon Estevez. And my grandfather just looked up and he just shook his head and was so disappointed. And my father saw that. And so when I began to get into this business, we had that conversation. And he said, don't make the same mistake.
He never cashed in on his heritage for mass market appeal, even when he was a young, ambitious teenager, and being known as his father's son would have only helped his career. Only the notorious Charlie, born Carlos Estevez, has adopted his father's stage surname and anglicized his first name. It must have been pretty strange for them when Charlie didn't just take on Sheen as a stage name, but as his legal surname too. I think Charlie felt he would get questions about the name either way, and he was always Charlie, never Carlos, said Emilio. Talking to Martin and Emilio, it's clear that their Spanish family are a natural part of their lives. I first went to Spain in 1969. I was working in Italy, and I took Emilio and Ramon, and we went to see where my father had come from, says Martin. It was an extraordinary experience. When Estevez progeny was growing up, the whole family would travel wherever Martin was shooting, loading up the station wagon and all 6 of them shipping on out.
My parents believed is that if the family wanted to stay together, we had to actually stay together.
They lived a very nomadic existence. That really informed the rest of our lives, and that was our norm, said Estevez about his dad. It's tempting to look at the differences today between the two brothers. Emilio is relatively scandal-free. Charlie has long been a walking chaos. Tracing back to how they handled their famous parentage, Emilio had a total lack of entitlement, while Charlie needed everyone to know who his dad was. Emilio credits his strong sense of values to being the eldest child. When we were growing up in New York, my mother was a struggling artist and my father was a struggling actor. They were really tumultuous times, and as I was the oldest, I absorbed it all more than my siblings, he says. When Estevez was 14, his father was cast in Apocalypse Now, and the whole family decamped to the Philippines. The young boy was practically ignored by his parents during the shoot, running around the dangerous streets with fellow teenager Lawrence Fishburne. What were they thinking? Emilio asked his parents after he got older. We had 4 of you, Estevez recalled them saying. If we had to lose one, we would. We were just trying to survive. When asked if he thinks his personal stability comes from growing up in a stable family, he looks at one skeptically. Have you seen Hearts of Darkness? He said, referring to Eleanor Coppola's documentary about the chaotic making of The Apocalypse Now, during which Sheen drank rivers of booze and had a heart attack. He remembers it all, including how the household wasn't always stable. My father is a different man now, and when he got sober, he came back to the church and took up activism. So then I'd watch him get arrested on television and he'd be carted off shouting the Lord's Prayer. He looked like a lunatic, and I found it embarrassing then, but I get it now. Despite being a member of one of Hollywood's most famous dynasties, the Estevez men have never been known for glitziness. For example, when Martin Sheen appeared on Desert Island Discs in 2011, He said that he only plays golf on public courses, rather than the many private courses in LA where actors of his stature are generally found. "I'm not comfortable belonging to a private members club," Sheen said. "It has a sense of privilege and entitlement that I resent deeply." One of the most extraordinary things about Martin, though, is that throughout the raising of 4 children, throughout the ups and downs of Hollywood's fame, and throughout all the disasters over Charlie, he's been married to the same woman, Janet.
So they met here, had 4 children in New York. I mean, 4 children
Oh my
anywhere in the world
gosh.
is difficult.
Yeah.
But 4 children in New York in the 60s was insane.
Forget it.
And yet they were committed to each other. They're still married now, 59 years later.
A Hollywood A-lister married to the same woman for 6 decades? How on earth have they managed it? "I haven't a clue," said Martin. "I've never met a person with more integrity in my life, though. It's taken me a long time to be as even and direct with her as she has been, always, with me."
The most important step is going inside. The person that you most admire to be who you really are, and accept the responsibility for that.
When the actor was battling his drinking problem, he confessed to the Washington Post that it was trying for him and Janet. Recalling how their marriage was at the time, Martin said, "Yeah, it wasn't very endearing. I was a known alcoholic and obviously troubled in a lot of areas." Luckily, he could get back on his feet, and his wife's policy of always telling him the truth played a huge part in it. Janet, who he describes as the scariest woman he ever met, never failed to call him out when he was doing wrong. Did he ever imagine that all 4 of his kids would follow him into acting? Not at first, he says. One time he thought Emilio had come to visit him on the set of a show, but it turned out that he was there because he had a part himself, his first part in a film. "When I saw him acting, I realized how talented he was. I was so relieved because each of my children was an individual talent. They didn't get anything by favor. Nothing, not once. But I've asked for a ton of them," says Martin. 2018's The Public is the first movie Estevez has directed that doesn't include any members of his family. The little-loved 1990 garbage men comedy, Men at Work, starred him and Charlie. 1996's The War at Home, 2006's Bobby, Estevez's best film, and 2011's The Way all featured or starred his father. Of course, Martin is still an A-list actor. Surely he'd still be working, even if he didn't have a director's son to give him parts? Not so, he insists. "My name doesn't sell a lot of tickets, not anymore. I don't do big films these days." But the truth is, said Martin, that there's no one he would rather work with than Emilio anyway. "From my point of view, there's nothing better. I'd work for him for the rest of my life, frankly."
It's the most gratifying thing to do is work with your children. At least it is for me,
Martin Sheen also couldn't be prouder of his son, Charlie. The 80-year-old actor spoke about his recovery while promoting his new film, 12 Mighty Orphans, not directed by his son, might we add. "I adore him," the actor said of Charlie. "I've always adored him. His recovery and his life are a miracle, and he's an extraordinary man." He continued, "We went through, as everyone knows I suppose, some very difficult times when he was out there. He's come back, thank heaven, and he's healthy." Martin said Charlie was working on an autobiography, and he's very excited about that. He's very involved with his family, his children, and his granddaughter.
We're such better friends these days than we've ever been. We don't agree on everything, obviously. I mean, what son and father do, but it's no, he's a special cat, and I'm really lucky to have him.
In 2016, Charlie opened up about quitting drinking and drugs over the years and his successful sobriety of 11 years until he relapsed after receiving his HIV diagnosis. "I believed that would quell a lot of that angst, a lot of that fear, and it only made it worse," Charlie said at the time. The former 2.5 Men star celebrated 1 year of sobriety in 2018. A year later, the actor celebrated 1 year since he had quit smoking. "Dear Aunt My Lungs," he wrote on Twitter. "It was 1 year ago today that I quit smoking. Hashtag, you're welcome. If I could go back in time and have never started, I would absolutely do so," the actor added. "If you're on the fence about quitting, trust me, the sooner, the better."
16 months sobriety, and the family's enormously proud of him. So yeah, he's one day at a time.
Despite all the trials and tribulations that the Estevez family has faced during Martin's battles and that of his son Charlie, they've always been close, supporting each other at every step of the way. That's all we have for you today, Juicers. Which celebrity parent would you like us to talk about next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thanks for choosing us. Spread the word, and don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell for more celebrity stories. And we'll be right back. Be well and be kind.